Within the fleet, I regularly received eyewitness reports of UFO sightings.
In the form of reports, it would be incorrect to say eyewitnesses.
It would be incorrect to say that these flying objects were only seen in the north. They were spotted throughout the Atlantic, not just in Antarctica.
In the Atlantic, even in the South Atlantic, around Antarctica.
For example, I am aware of a case in the area of South Georgia Island. Back then, fishermen observed an object that had emerged from the water, which they were even able to photograph.
South Georgia. Then the fishermen discovered an object that had emerged from under the water.
Here are the photos. Despite the strong wind, the object remained stationary for a long time. That was definitely not a cloud or a balloon. Over the South Georgia Islands, strange flying objects were observed multiple times. Here's another eyewitness account. The flying disc hovered for a long time before the sunset and about 2 hours after over the island. The object had a round shape on which one could recognize an even triangle. At night, the object shone. Although lights could be seen below it, looking as if an engine was running, the object did not move from its spot. The observations of these objects date back to 1979. 3 years earlier, in 1976, Japanese researchers managed to make 19 rounds simultaneously using state-of-the-art location devices to identify objects coming from outer space into Andean sites and plunge into the Arctic, only to disappear from the screens.
What objects are involved and where do they come from? Answers might be provided by the works of leading American astrophysicist Ken Thorne and his colleagues, the events of the late 80s that caused a big stir.
They advanced
Thorne and his
money.
colleagues developed the interesting hypothesis that black holes are located in the immediate vicinity of Earth, and various forms of so-called wormhole passages. These wormholes allowed intergalactic flights. As the scientists say themselves, their work is indeed of a practical nature. For example, for the construction of time machines and the preparation of intergalactic flights.
Kintorn concluded that there is an entrance to a wormhole near Earth that leads to area around the star Vega.
Obviously, the Americans already knew or suspected how and by what means UFOs appeared in our Earth's airspace.
UFO change in the atmosphere of our planet.
In 1993, the Americans built a gigantic high-frequency complex in Alaska. Officially set up to research the ionosphere and develop an anti-missile defense system. In truth, the gate is entirely about the development of completely new weapon systems, geophysical, climate and psychotronic weapons about whose effect we know almost nothing. At its core, Horb is nothing more than a gigantic microwave oven.
Lately, more voices are attributing another function to it as well. They assume that the main task of the Horb complex is searching for the wormhole entrance. In other words, Americans believe that the entrance to the wormhole could be located in this area. The radio waves from their station could determine the configuration of this wormhole and help find the entrance and exit.
The Horb project is not limited to Alaska. The Americans have since also built a comparable facility in Norway. A third, even more powerful one is planned for Greenland.
In the early 90s, Americans believed they could limit themselves to the Horb facility in Alaska to advance their research on the wormhole's entry and exit points and the movement of UFOs across our planet. They believed they could do without further observation posts in the States or other parts of the world. They have since revised this assumption Since the Earth has two poles, the question arises as to what role each pole plays. Can they be used as both entrance and exit? Is the Alaska portal the entrance and the Antarctic the exit, or is it the other way around? It is a well-known fact that most employees at the American Polar Station, members of the National Security Agency, the various technical and electronic reconnaissance departments of the military, or the CIA, they form the core of the scientific research staff of the U.S. Antarctic Station.
The theory of tunnel effects does not contradict the assumption that the North Pole of our planet is the entrance, and the South Pole is the departure for the energy information channels that connect our planet with other planets and stars.
Energy information channels, linking our planet with other planets and stars. It's not out of the question.
It's not ruled out that UFOs use the polar properties for contacts with other parts of the universe. Anyway, all questions arising in this context must be seriously explored.
Is subject to Bolshevik study.
It's not out of the question that the scientists of the Third Reich already recognized the special significance of the Arctic and Antarctica. A clue to this might be the hollow earth theory, which was extremely popular in Nazi Germany. According to this theory, the poles are doors to other spaces of the world knowledge, an idea that bears a surprising resemblance to the modern theory of wormholes. Was it the associated possibility of time and space travel that drew the Germans to the Arctic? The sixth continent is full of mysteries and unresolved questions, important questions that are still awaiting answers in other areas too. Were the construction works for the creation of flying saucers discontinued after the war, or have they continued in underground bases and inaccessible corners of the earth? Is there a connection between German technologies and modern UFO sightings? Yes, how are the U precautions to be explained that were made long before the Third Reich? And above all, who was controlling the flying discs spotted in 1947 that attacked the US fleet in Antarctica and forced it to retreat? Were those the unknowns that the Ahnenerbe researchers were tracing and with whom the powers of the Third Reich wanted to collaborate to achieve world domination? Just a myth or real forces that have existed on our Earth for millennia? Questions and puzzles that the future will solve.